The knock at the door came again, soft, desperate, and trembling. Alexander Cole's penthouse stood silent, except for the ticking of the antique clock in his office. He wasn't used to visitors, especially not at midnight. The billionaire CEO of Cole Industries had spent years building walls, literal and emotional, around his life. But that fragile sound on the other side of the door sliced through his solitude. He hesitated for a moment before unlocking it. Standing there was a little girl, drenched from the rain, clutching a worn-out stuffed bunny. Her big brown eyes shimmered with fear. "Please." "They hurt my mom," she said, her voice barely audible. "She's dying." Alex's breath caught in his throat. He knelt, trying to steady his tone. "Where is she?" The child pointed toward the street below. Something in her trembling hand, something innocent yet broken, made him act without another thought. The moment he stepped outside, the chill of the rain hit him like ice. The city that usually buzzed with noise now felt hauntingly quiet. Street lights flickered, and puddles mirrored the gleam of passing cars. Following the little girl, Alex's polished shoes splashed through the water as he scanned the dark alley she led him to. Then he saw her. A woman lay motionless beside a dumpster, her body bruised, her face pale and bloodied. For a second, time seemed to stop. He crouched beside her, feeling for a pulse. It was faint, barely there. "Call 911!" he barked to his driver, who had followed in shock. But as he brushed the hair from her face, recognition struck him. Somewhere in his memory, he had seen those eyes before. His heartbeat quickened, a strange sense of guilt and fear clawing up his chest. He carried her into his car, rain still pouring as the little girl clutched his sleeve. "Don't let her die," she whispered. Alex tightened his jaw, his focus sharp. "I won't." The drive to St. Mary's Hospital felt endless. He'd faced corporate crises worth billions, negotiated hostile takeovers without flinching, but this was different. This was human, raw, and terrifying. When they arrived, he rushed through the emergency doors, shouting for help. Nurses and doctors surrounded the woman immediately, wheeling her away. The girl stood beside him, shivering, her lips trembling. Can I stay with you?" she asked. Alex nodded, gently placing his jacket over her tiny shoulders. He didn't know why he cared so much, but the thought of her being alone twisted something deep inside him. Minutes turned into hours. The sterile lights of the hospital flickered as Alex sat in the waiting area, drenched clothes sticking to his skin. The little girl had fallen asleep beside him, holding onto his hand as if afraid he'd disappear. He looked at her, her curls, her soft features, and that nagging familiarity returned. Who was she? And why did he feel this unexplainable pull toward her? When a nurse finally approached with an update, he braced himself. "She's critical but stable for now," the nurse said. Alex exhaled, his relief brief but heavy. He stared through the window of the ICU at the fragile woman lying inside, unaware that the choices of his past were standing right in front of him, alive, breathing, and about to rewrite the entire story of his life. The sound of rushing footsteps and medical orders filled the hallway as the emergency doors swung open. Doctors and nurses moved swiftly, their voices blending into chaos. Alexander stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest as he watched the woman disappear behind the white curtains. The little girl gripped his hand tighter, tears streaking her rain-soaked face. "Will she die?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Alex knelt down, brushing her hair gently aside. "Not if I can help it," he promised. For the first time in years, his words weren't just confident. They carried fear. Fear of losing someone he didn't even know, yet somehow mattered more than anyone else ever had. He stayed by the child's side, every second feeling longer than the last. The billionaire who once believed money could fix anything suddenly realized how powerless he truly was. Hours passed before the doctor returned, exhaustion visible on his face. "She's still unconscious," he said gravely. "She's lost a lot of blood. We need a donor immediately, O negative, a rare type." Alex didn't hesitate. "Test mine," he said firmly. The nurse blinked, surprised by the urgency in his tone. Within minutes, they confirmed the match. "It's perfect," she said. As they prepared him for the transfusion, Alex's mind swirled with confusion and something deeper, recognition. Through the small window he could see her lying there, fragile but familiar. Memories began to stir like ghosts from a locked past. An intern named Emily Hart, ambitious, honest, and brave enough to question him once during a board meeting. He'd fired her years ago after a scandal she never caused. The guilt he'd buried for so long clawed its way back. As the needle pierced his arm, he stared at the transfusion bag, slowly filling with his blood. Each drop felt like a fragment of his soul leaving him. "She'll be okay, right?" he asked quietly. The nurse gave a small nod, though uncertainty lingered in her eyes. His gaze shifted to the little girl sitting outside the room, clutching her stuffed bunny. The resemblance was undeniable. The same brown eyes, the same dimple when she frowned. A cold realization struck him, tightening his chest. Could this child be his? He had no family, no close ties, no one who ever called him Dad. But now, looking at her, he felt a connection too deep to ignore. When the transfusion ended, Alex stood by the ICU window, unable to look away. Machines beeped steadily beside her bed, each sound echoing his racing thoughts. Then her hand twitched. Her eyelids fluttered open for a brief moment, her lips parting to whisper, "Alex." His name, just that one word, and it shattered everything. The truth crashed over him like a wave. The woman he'd tried to forget was right there, fighting for her life, and the little girl outside, her daughter, was his flesh and blood. For the first time in years, the ruthless CEO felt tears burning in his eyes. This wasn't business anymore. This was redemption, family and fate colliding all at once.